Good morning. This is the Friday Fireside. We are here with Ishaan Sutaria from WaveTV. Ishaan, how are you?
I am doing well. Excited to be here.
Good. And you are normally an LA guy, but apparently you are right now in Detroit with family, right?
That's right. Doing a little quarantine, but we are headquartered in Santa Monica. So, yep, LA based.
All right. So we can avoid the conversations about flying on what I still consider to be infected cigar tubes. Not for me yet. Amtrak is okay, but flying, I'm not sure. Anyway, tell us about WaveTV. What is it? How did it come to pass? You're allowed to mention some of your investors, including that guy that used to play baseball. Tell us what it is and what do you do?
Yeah, sure. So WaveTV is we are a media company that operates a number of digitally distributed brands. And by digitally distributed, I mean on core and emerging digital platforms, the places where young people spend their time: Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, so on and so forth. We have about 18 brands at the moment, covering different verticals of fandom, from amateur basketball to international football to weightlifting to gymnastics to athletes with disabilities. Like we kind of hit a large breadth of fandoms, and our whole thesis when we built the business was to at a very simple level to cater to a very large swath of Gen Z and millennial sports fans who are looking to interact and engage with their fandoms on the places they spend their time.
So we are not talking about big budget NFL and stadiums. We are talking about badminton. I think I read that somewhere, right?
So it's a little bit of both, actually, and it depends on the channel that you go to. And so across those 18 brands I mentioned, we have about 65 million followers, subscribers, reach a couple 100 million a month, and do about 3.5 billion video views on our content a month. So the scale of which we reach folks is quite high. And to answer your question, when we look at sports, we actually we partner with I would call it good sports content creators at scale, and that can be a individual professional athlete, amateur athlete, or it can or an aspiring sports journalist, or leagues and rights holders, where we have about 70 partnerships with different leagues and rights holders. Anyone from IMG to Major League Baseball to FIBA to the Euro League to pretty one championship Bellator, pretty large swath of folks. And what we do is we take this awesome content that folks are creating, this IP that they have, and we just format it appropriately, put it into programming that lives on these brands and on places where young people spend their time. So we like to think of ourselves as a partner to great sports content creators at large.
Cool. All right. So now is this long form, short form, all over?
Mostly short form, mostly under 5-minute video, I would say, right? Very specific types of video content to cater to the young consumer who spends a lot of their time there.
All right. So I know you don't exactly do that, but let me give an example. If you were working with baseball and you did, a short little bit on fabulous catches in the outfield where the guy was reaching over the wall, something like that, right?
That's right.
Super highlights.
To bring the moments or the narratives that are occurring in the sport to young sports fans.
Cool. Well, my son, we used to reenact Catch of the Day when he was young in the swimming pool. I would throw the ball and he would reach out and do the Catch of the Day. And that was, he was, I think, 9. What is the demographic of your audience? Do you have a sense?
Yeah, so we are about 80% 13 to 34. So really cater specifically to Gen Z millennial sports audiences.
Absolutely. Okay, now how do you make money?
So make money through, mostly to date, through advertising. And that's either what we could call programmatic or direct. Programmatic is where the platforms are paying us as a function of the viewership that we generate, right? And they're actually selling ads against the content. And on the flip side is where we work with, big brands, agencies who generally target and have pretty significant line items targeting sports fans, and work with, same types of folks, just expanding them onto new mediums.
Okay, now at the younger end of your demographic, age 13, anything really under 18, do you have an issue? Do people come down onto you on what kind of advertising you're showing to those kids?
We're like most companies, we're thoughtful about which brands we partner with on which set of our brands, and so no, we haven't had any issues there to date, mainly because I think we're fairly thoughtful.
My friend Herb Scannell, back when he was running Nickelodeon, back in my Viacom days, was one of the first to step out and say, you know what, we're going to pay attention to the advertising that we're running next to the Nickelodeon shows, which different shows then, but the same kind of issue. That may have gotten a little bit more lax these days. But you are self-policing on that. There's not a National Association of Short-Form Sports Broadcasters. Did I just make that up?
That's correct.
Who's paying attention to that? Okay. All right. So, and you're making money through some advertising and subscription. Did you also not say?
No, we are non-subscription based.
Really?
Yeah. There's actually no owned and operated website or app aspect of our business. We're 100% digitally distributed. The content that we create is meant to live on, platforms where folks are consuming content already. Wow.
Okay. So there has to be an obvious comparison that you've heard before between you and Quibi. Massive amounts of money and sort of, tanked. Hasn't tanked yet, but boy, are in the process. How have you been so successful? You don't have to talk about how they have not been, but how have you been so successful? Because it sounds like you're literally knocking the ball out of the park.
Fundamentally, just very different products and platforms, right? Like we, at the end of the day, are a sports media company, and I just call us even like a holding company for sports media brands, right? While they are a platform more akin to a Netflix, right? They're a combination of technology, content, IP, so on and so forth, where we are mostly in the media side of things, right? Working off of other folks' platforms. And that's core to our model, right? Our thought is don't try and reinvent or change consumer behavior. They're spending 70% of their time on the internet on XYZ places for a reason. So just cater to their wants and needs as consumers there. And then naturally, we have very different founder profiles. I wasn't Jeffrey Katzenberg, or either was my co-founder. So obviously the amount of capital that we raised over time is very different. And we had to go about building a business in a different manner, which was, prioritizing things like revenue upfront. So no commentary on them, but I think that's, a mistake you've sometimes seen in our space more at large with new media companies is taking on more capital before the efficient business model was figured out.
Got it. Speaking of capital, you just had a successful raise. Was that an 8 round? What was that? And how much was it? And who came in on that?
So we actually closed it in March 17th, actually, while the global equity markets were in a free fall. But we just announced it a couple weeks ago. But yeah, we did a $32 million Series A, mix of equity and debt. And we partnered with 2 main firms, CoVenture out of New York, as well as GPS Investment Partners. And then we had our previous investors as well come on, Sweet Capital, Golden Ventures, and a number of other individuals.
They've got to be pretty happy with your numbers, and the numbers and the viewership are the engine that drive everything else. Let's talk about advertising. Let's talk about viewership, and let's talk about the pandemic. How has that impacted you, and what do you feel like it's going to do going forwards?
Sure. So look, sometimes in life, you just kind of get, you get lucky. And the business that we started just happened to be a digitally distributed media business focused on non-traditional sports moments. And during this time when people were at home, spending more time on their phones, spending more time consuming content, and didn't have traditional live sports content to consume, naturally we saw some positive externalities from that. So, we hit all-time highs in viewership, revenue, follower growth, kind of all of the above after the pandemic began. Naturally, when you look at advertising markets, and I'm not saying something that has been said 1,000 times, but direct advertising got hit pretty hard, right? As folks are trying to figure out how the economy was going to react, how long quarantine was going to last, and also just with live sports going off, folks in the sports space were, I think, trying to rejigger their budgets for the year and the timing of their spend. So direct ad market got hit a good bit. We were able to, still win because of the amount of the increase in viewership that we saw. And now we are slowly starting to see it pick back up. I think with, a large group of sports all getting back up and running around the same time. Stock market rebounded. Companies are less, I think, wary of spending as per they normally do. So we're starting to see folks come back online more. My assumption, pending no further changes in the macro sense, is that you might see it, return to where it usually is, Q4 moving into next year, but to be determined.
So what kind of advertisers are primarily coming to you? What categories?
So what we are seeing in terms of who is spending right now, it's very category specific in that sense. But gaming, seen a good bit. I think in general, like content companies, call it Hulu's, Netflix's of the world. We see food and bev.
Okay.
Just as I think, his people still consume food and beverages as they once did. So you still see that sector being fairly hot. CPG for us, those are four of the large groups at this point in time, and where we see good traction. But those are the verticals that I would say we see budgets in.
Do you expect to see any political coming in the next couple of months?
No, versus I'm not sure where we would stand on that type of advertising.
You don't think you would run it, you mean?
Well, to be determined. We haven't even really broached the conversations where we've talked about political ad dollars.
Because I've got a lot of folks on that side of the world, on both sides of the spectrum, paying attention to these. Uh-oh, lost your sound. Uh-oh. He went away and we are recording and I don't have the ability to stop. Are you back?
Yes, I am back. My apologies for that.
Political. I have people both on the Democratic side and the Republican side who pay attention to this, the Friday Firesides. Should they contact you?
Always open to conversations, and we don't turn down, especially where advertising dollars are involved.
Okay, all right. And do you you have an ad sales group? You both have the advertising that the platforms are putting in next year stuff, but you have your own gang, right?
Yeah, that's right. And that's just the general tiered model, I think.
I thought. Okay, all right. So listen, we are about out of time, and you did walk away, but you came back. And that blank space is on the video because I don't edit here. So, we're all good. Ishaan Sutaria, thank you very much. I appreciate your time with us today. And it does sound like you've got the play of the week here going. Maybe the play of the year.
Well, thank you so much, Rick. appreciate the kind sentiments there. And hopefully we, you see us doing interesting things over the next year.
Sounds like a plan. All right, buddy. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.